I'd like to read an excerpt from the Dalai Lama to you this morning. It was taken from an address to the Interfaith Seminar organized by the International Association of Religious Freedom. As a religious practitioner, I acknowledge the fact that different religions of the world have provided many solutions about how to control an agitated mind. In spite of this, I feel we have not been able to realize our full potential. I always say that every person on this earth has the freedom to practice or not practice religion. It is all right to do either. But once you accept religion, it is extremely important to be able to focus your mind on it and sincerely practice the teachings in your daily life. All of us can see that we tend to indulge in religious favoritism by saying, I belong to this or that religion, rather than making an effort to control our agitated minds. This misuse of religion, due to our disturbed minds, also sometimes creates problems. In every religion, there are transcendent things that are beyond the grasp of our mind and speech. For example, the concept of God in Christianity and Islam, and that of wisdom, truth, body in Buddhism, are metaphysical, which is not possible for an ordinary person like us to realize. This is a common difficulty faced by every religion. It is taught that every religion, including Christianity, Buddhism, Hinduism, and Islam, that the ultimate truth is driven by faith. If a harmonious relationship is established among societies and religious beliefs in today's multi-ethnic, multi-religious, and multicultural world, then it will surely set a very good example for others.
So I'm going to tell you, I'm going to open up with a story about this Inuit hunter. And he had asked this local missionary, if I didn't know about God and sin, would I go to hell? And so the missionary said to him, well, of course not if you didn't know. So the Inuit hunter said to him, well, why then did you tell me about it? Oh yeah. Freedom of and freedom from religion is really what I want to talk about this morning. It's one of those freedoms that we have in this country, and I think sometimes we take for granted. So I know it's a freedom that I have an incredible amount of gratitude for, because it has helped allow me to be on the path that I want to be on and the way that I want to do it. We all have the choice of what religion or what belief system that we want to follow in our lives, or follow, as Alan said, none at all. It doesn't matter. We have that choice. I remember when I was a young mother and I was raising my children, I heard many comments, we'll put it that way, to me because I chose not to raise my children in an organized religion. I chose instead to raise my children as good human beings, as having a conscience. I taught them to do the right thing, listen to their gut. Don't do things just for the benefit of you. Do it for the benefit of all. And all might mean your friend out there on the playground, right? I taught them not to lie, not to cheat, not to steal. All those basic 10 commandments, or do unto others as you would have them do unto you. And for me, that made sense. That made the absolute most sense. I wanted my children to understand at a very young age that not only did they have the ability and the knowledge within them to do the right thing, I also wanted them to know they had the responsibility to do the right thing. Now, all of that transpired long before I found metaphysics and started studying that, realizing that there were lots of other people in this world that saw the world the same way I did. And how exciting was that? I know most of you can probably relate to that. Finally finding somebody who gets it, who understands that you might perceive the world a little bit differently. Maybe not wanting to be tied to someone else's rules. One of the most difficult things for me about the rules, well, were that they were rules. And don't laugh, because all of you are rebels. Is that true? Come on, in one form or another, you're all rebels in here. I know that. Those why questions, though, really haunted me. And as I would ask people why, the adults around me, it wasn't always received very well. I wanted to know why I needed to do this, why this happened, who said that, why? Well, that was very frustrating for me as a kid because nobody could answer my questions and made it clear they didn't want to. What I came to realize eventually and later in my life was because they did that because they didn't know the why. They didn't fully understand why. They just did what they were supposed to do because they'd always done it. It was passed on from their families, and it turned into an expectation as opposed to a choice. That's the way that people saw it. And when we're emotionally attached, maybe to our parents, to our family, to whomever has raised us, we believe what we're told. And we believe that's factual, and we believe that's the truth, and it's not a changeable thing. And so with that, we begin to hang on to so many things without even realizing it. We forget to question things because that's just the way it is. There's a story about a woman who'd been frying fish for her husband for quite some time. And he noticed that every time that she would fry fish, she would cut it up into 3 different pieces. So one day, he said to her, you know, it's really bugging me. Why is it you cut those fish into 3 pieces before you put them in the frying pan? And she really had to think about it. And she goes, well, my mother always did it. Well, as Providence would have it, Mom was coming over that afternoon. So he's a little interested in this now. And he said to her, the mother-in-law, so why is it you cut the fish up into 3 different pieces before you put it in the frying pan? And she thought about it, and she said, well, my mother did it, and my grandmother did it. So now his interest is way peaked, right? Next day he calls Grandma, asks her the same question. And she said, well, the reason I did it is because after the war, we didn't have frying pans. And so we had these little pans that weren't very big, and we had to use them as a substitute. So in order for the fish to fit in that frying pan, I had to cut it up in 3 small pieces. It was simple as that. In other words, that information was passed down and passed down blindly, and everyone, all the way down, believed it had to be that way because it always had been that way. Nobody questioned it. It just was. As adults, we get to consciously choose our path. We get to decide what our beliefs are. And that's such a great freedom in that. We have the choice to follow a particular religion or not. We have a choice to believe in a higher power or not. It's entirely up to us. And we've gotten to a point in our lives where we realize if something's not a fit for us, be it emotionally, mentally, physically, spiritually, we don't have to believe it anymore. We don't have to hold on to it. We don't have to keep it as our very own. We don't have to have that small pan. How freeing is that? John Stuart Mill wrote this: "The only freedom which deserves the name is that of pursuing our own good in our own way, so long as we do not attempt to deprive others of theirs or impede their efforts to obtain it." So be free and allow others to be free. It's critical that we don't impede or deprive anyone else of their right to believe the way they believe. It's not our job. We don't have to babysit anybody else, only ourselves. Each of us has our own way of perceiving the world. And in that perception is where we're creating our own truth. So not any two of us are going to have the exact same truth. We're not going to see everything the exact same way. It isn't a possibility. Now, most of us here have chosen a unique path, a spiritual path, because here at Common Ground, as we know, we honor all faiths to God. We honor all paths. We just love having others to share our journey with. So this is quite a unique path. What I find interesting is, from knowing you, I know a lot of people here who continue to practice their religion, as well as participate with us in that spiritual journey. Religion and spirituality, contrary to popular belief, do not have to be mutually exclusive. They don't. I think somewhere in the back of our minds we have that idea that they're different. Religion can absolutely be spiritual, and spirituality can absolutely be referred to as a religion. They each provide us with something very distinct. Religion, for instance, tends to incorporate rituals, tends to have doctrine, and those things can be really valuable tools if we're looking for a way to connect with Source. And those are very valuable. Spirituality, on the other hand, is more of a personal path, not something necessarily that you would share openly with anybody and everybody that you come across. It's something that is found deep within each and every life form. And it's our way of loving and accepting the world as it is, and those who are in our immediate world around us. It's not going to be found necessarily just because you're in a building or because it's in a well-formed, well-organized format. That's not what spirituality is about. It's about that deep, personal, one-on-one connection with Source. Spirituality is also about remaining open to change. And many times, that means a change in your belief system. Now, I would venture to guess that it's very likely many of us began our journey in some form of religion. And it probably served as a kickstart, if you will, to our spiritual journey. I know that was true for me, growing up in a Christian home. It wasn't enough. I didn't feel the depth of connection that I wanted to feel. So I set out on a journey looking for that more of a connection. And boy, am I grateful for that foundation in my life. It taught me to be a good person. It reminded me to always do the right thing. It really helped me move through life with a much more pleasant attitude and a more of a respect for other human beings. Something I was able then to pass on to my children. I love the Dalai Lama because he's just so basic and simple. He said, "My religion's very simple. My religion is kindness." Okay, that seems easy enough. He said, practice love and kindness, whether you believe in a religion or not. It's funny because some years ago, when I first read that, I thought, heck, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me and my kids, right? I did something right. Isn't that an absolutely beautiful thing when people and things can come together despite differences? Doesn't that just make you feel hopeful inside? That this world can be different than it's showing up right now? Nature has a lot to teach us if we're open to hearing what they have to say, if we're open to learn. Nature and we have the freedom to simply be who we are. We get to do that. We get to love unconditionally, no matter what or who is in front of us, no matter what we're facing. Loving unconditionally is the goal. And wouldn't that be nice if all of the different religions and traditions could get along like these animals, like these little creatures? Somehow they don't even recognize differences. Did you notice that? Mm-hmm. They're in that space of love, of respect, of honor, of all other life forms. And that is exactly what we are also called to do. We're called to love and honor and respect all life forms. Thank you. Whatever beliefs or religion that we have, or not. When we talk about freedom of religion, we are talking about freedom of any religion. We don't get to choose which one we honor. That kind of defeats the purpose. It's not for us to judge or to criticize anybody's belief. Who knows? They may just have something to teach us. If we open our ears, if we're open to learning and listening. Brandon Bayes in the book Freedom Is reminds us of this. It is not what is seen. It is who is seeing that makes the difference. So are you looking out with eyes of criticism and judgment, or are you looking with eyes of love and joy and compassion and understanding? Who holds the truth? Who holds the absolute truth? Heck, I don't know. Nobody that I know of. My truth changes. My truth changes sometimes from month to month. I'm certainly not the same person I was, say, a year ago. I read, I learn, I grow. I change my mind about something that maybe I was attached to a year, a month, or a week ago. Because I want to expand and I want to grow, and I do that by talking to people who maybe come from different cultures, different traditions, different religions. That's how we learn, and that's how we grow, and that's how we move into that place of understanding and compassion and tolerance that Ellen mentioned. And we have the freedom to do that. Why wouldn't we take advantage of that? We aren't here to judge whether someone's right or wrong. We're here to honor all human beings on this planet. In the book One River, Many Wells, written by Matthew Fox, he uses a metaphor. He talks about a metaphor in there about how you can use your hand to honor those different religions. So the metaphor is this. You look at your hand and the backside of your hand, and when you do that, you see 5 complete different entities. And yet, their origin is all the same. They all go down to their source, to their center. And that is what the different religions do. And don't I always talk, I didn't today, but don't I always in the beginning tell you that we're here to share what's at the core of all of those traditions. So we look at our hand and know that it's the love and the kindness and the compassion. If we only look at the top of our hand, we'll look at our fingers and they look distinct. They look independent and autonomous, but they are all coming from that same center. So in truth, there's no difference. There's no difference between my hand and your hand, me and you, me and anybody else on this planet, in this world. Peace among religions is absolutely a precondition to peace on this earth. And we all have a hand in that. Pun intended. Come on, I was waiting for Lyle. We do all have a hand in that, though. Because who you are out there touches the lives of so very many people. We have many faiths, and we have one world in which to coexist. So our work is to cherish our commonalities and honor and learn from our differences. That's our work. Although we have different religions, different cultures, different languages, we all belong to one human race. And we're in this together. Nelson Mandela says to be free is not merely to cast off one's chains, but to live in a way that respects and enhances the freedom of others. It is never about I. It is always about we. We're all on this journey of life together. So I invite you this week to remember that and to open up and to reach out and to make a difference. Thank you for being here while I share this truth as I understand it.